Hey, good morning. Thanks for letting me know, Oliemi. Your ball. No Villa players, no Haaland. Yeah, I know, and I had to pay for that last game week. Haaland hat trick. It was it was always the case before game week 1. We knew that Haaland will play Ipswich in game week 2, but I decided to go with Son, Bruno, and Salah. And Salah and Son has they've done pretty well, but Bruno is the elephant in the room. During the week, I decided to give Bruno one last chance. He is nailed on for United and he is on set pieces, including penalties. So hopefully, the next couple of game weeks, he will repay my patience. Which one should I start, Tripper, Murillo, or Nedeljkovic? Right now, I'm not sure that Trippier will start for Newcastle, so I would probably go with Murillo for this game week. But of course, Trippier, when we know that he will start and he is now confirmed to stay at Newcastle, he will probably be a good asset going forward. But I'm not sure that he is a good starter for this game week. And when it comes to the Newcastle defense, they are actually the team who has conceded most shots on targets in the first couple of game weeks. Of course, they were playing with 10 men for most of the game against Southampton in game week 1, but I'm not been impressed from what I've seen from Newcastle so far. And they are playing a really attacking Spurs side this game week, so yeah, Trippier is probably safe to put on the bench this game week. We're planning for a wildcard. I'm ranked 600k and panicking already. During the week, I actually considered it. I made a wildcard draft and I would change around 8, 9 players, and that's most of the times that's a good sign for spending the wildcard. But it's just been 2 game weeks, so I think it's too early to start panicking. So I've decided to have a little bit more patience and when it comes to my team, it's some of my players that haven't really performed in the first couple of game weeks, but they've shown signs of promise, like SA and Bruno. So I decided not to wildcard, and I know that a wildcard in game week 6 will be really popular time for using it because of there are a couple of fixture swings around game week 6. But if you want to use it this game week, of course, you can get in players from especially Aston Villa and Chelsea have decent fixtures going forward. Okay, Tripper bench. Yeah, it makes sense to me. We're not sure he will start, and in addition, he has a tough fixture against Spurs. So I think benching Trippier, even though he's expensive, I think it makes sense this game week. Saka or Palmer for a hit or still hold on to Jota. For me right now, if I were to bring in one of Saka or Palmer this game week, it would definitely be Cole Palmer. Arsenal, they have a couple of tough fixtures in the next couple of game weeks, so Palmer would be my transfer this game week. When it comes to Jota, I'm not really sure that he is a sell this game week. At least I'm keeping him, and I do believe that he will start in game week 3. But we have to consider that last game, both Darwin Nunez and Gakpo came in. So Jota will probably see limited minutes in the games going forward, and at some point he will probably start on the bench as well. So that's the main problem with the Liverpool attackers. They have so many good options, so there will be rotation at some point. But as mentioned, Jota, he has done well, so he'll probably start in game week 3. But I'm not surprised if he's taken off at the 60, 70 minutes mark like he was in game week 2. So for me, I would not sell Jota for a hit this game week. And if you have the possibility to do it next week, it's probably wise to have a little bit more patience. And I would go for Palmer right now, but after game week 5. So if you can wait until game week 6, then I will definitely bring in Saka. So not sure if you saw the transfers that happened late last night. these are some of the most important ones when it comes to FPL. Ramsdale joining Southampton. He will probably be their new starting goalkeeper. Sancho, he joined Arsenal from Man United. Oh, yeah, I got that one wrong. I need to change that because Sancho, he joined Chelsea. Broja, he joined Everton. Not good for my punt this season, Calvert-Lewin. But at least Broja, he is injured now, so Calvert-Lewin will probably start the next couple of game weeks as well. And if he don't deliver in the couple of game weeks to come, he will be sold soon. Sterling, he joined Arsenal. Edouard joining Leicester. This is a good sign. And I've seen a lot on Twitter saying that Mateta is nailed on. But we have to remember that Nketiah a couple of days ago joined Palace as well, and he's probably a better option than Edouard. Ward-Prowse joining Nottingham Forest. This is not a good sign for all the Morgan Gibbs White owners because he will probably um, overtake him when it comes to set pieces. So Ward-Prowse joining Forest is not a good sign for all the new Morgan Gibbs White owners. Ulmer and Robbo or Trent and Jota. Watched both Liverpool games in the season opening, and for me, I actually believe that Robbo at 6 million is a better asset than Trent because Trent he is moving into midfield and Robbo he is bombing down that left hand side. So at the moment, I think that Robbo, now that he's fit, that he's a better option than Trent. Great team. Yeah, thanks. I know that it has that this team misses a couple of obvious picks. I don't have Haaland, so he will probably be one of the most captain players this game week as well, playing against West Ham. But hopefully, my midfield and especially some Salah and Bruno can deliver. You're not the first to tell me that Calvert Lewin stinks at the team. Um, he at least he has a good fixture this game week against Bournemouth at home. So if he fails this game week as well, then he will be sold ahead of the game week 4 deadline. He's still owned by only 1.5%. So if he scores, he is a really big differential, and we know that he is on penalties for Everton. So hopefully they can get something in game week 3. A rough plan for me is to sell Calvert Lewin if he fails, and then I will probably downgrade Bruno. And I'm really interest. I'm really interested to see how Watkins does. He has really poor stats from game week 1 and game week 2, but if he shows some signs of promise in game week 3, I will probably downgrade a midfielder and upgrade Calvert-Lewin to Watkins. So maybe Bruno down to Rodgers and Calvert-Lewin upgrade to Watkins. One of the moves that I was really close to do during this midweek was to sell both Bruno and Jota and bring in Rodgers and Cole Palmer, but I've decided to have some patience and give my team one more game week. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, Ulemi, but I would definitely have Palmer and Robo over Trent and Jota. Of course, I know there's a big price difference between them, but ultimately, Robo is just as good as Trent when we consider the first couple of game weeks. What's your plans with Son? At the moment, I will keep him. He will probably, hopefully, he will do well against Newcastle this game week. They are one of the teams to concede most shots in the first couple of game weeks, and they miss their regular starting centre backs. And hopefully, Son can do really well in game week 3. He is currently my captain, so my Son plan is to have patience and faith in him. So I know that playing away against Newcastle at the St. James's on paper doesn't look that good, but after taking a closer look at the stats, I think there will be goals in that game. If he fails in the next couple of game weeks, I will have to sell him, and a downgrade of Son or Bruno Fernandes to Rodgers and an upgrade of Calvert-Lewin will probably be my move either next week or before game week 5. great. I have him also, but I'm leaning towards Captain Isaac. Yeah, decent shout. He has not done well in the first couple of game weeks, but we have to remember that in game week one, Newcastle played with 10 men for most of the game. Shad got sent off in the first half. Not really impressed by Isaac against Bournemouth in game week two, but we know that he will start and we know that he is on penalties. So, as mentioned, I think there will be goals in this game. So, Captain Isaac is a decent shout as well. Let me check. The book is. Book is odds for anytime goal scorers. So Isaac, he is actually one of the top five bookies favorites to score in game week three. 44% above Saka, actually, only beaten by Palmer, Haaland, and Salah. So Isaac definitely one to consider for the captaincy this game week. So it's not like Son is a player that we have to transfer out. He will start, we know that, and he will be on penalties. So he is definitely one to keep, in my opinion. Players that I would definitely sell if I had them at the moment is the likes of Kwanzaa, Turner, the goalkeeper. He's still owned by close to 20%. He is a transfer out if you don't have any other fires. The same goes for Nkunku at Chelsea. Chelsea, they also have Neto, who can play in his position. Palmer can play both centrally and out wide. And they have brought in Sancho as well from Man United on a loan. So Nkunku, he is a definite sell at the moment. He started on Thursday night in Europe as well. So if you have him, it's time to let him go. So right now, 2.5 hours until the deadline closes. I've had a couple of questions about early team news in the Arsenal Brighton game, but I'm not sure we will get any. And the biggest accounts as well, they are really restrictive when it comes to sharing early team news because at the end of last season, there were the biggest accounts like FPL Tony. He actually got it wrong a couple of times. So no one wants to share false information, of course, and moving the deadline to 1.5 hour before the game starts has also made it harder to get your hands on early team news. What to do with Kwanzaa? For me, Kwanzaa is one of the players that definitely should be sold. He was a decent punt at the start of the season, 4.5 starting defender for Liverpool. But now that Konate is back and his injury wasn't that bad as expected, and Kwanzaa will probably not start. We know that Van Dijk will take that left center back spot, and Konate is actually preferred to play alongside him. So Kwanzaa is a definite sell. He will probably drop in price once more. He's 4.3 now, but sell him to avoid further price drops. I know that it's probably hard to replace him using just one transfer and if you don't have money in the bank, but if you can upgrade him by selling another player as well, or just drop him down to one of the starting 4.0 defenders. So for me, as mentioned, Kwanzaa, he is a definite sell together with Nkunku. He will probably not start week in, week out as we thought in the preseason. And right now, Chelsea actually have more attacking options by bringing in Neto. They have Jadon Sancho coming from Man United on loan last night, and they also have Cole Palmer playing both centrally and out wide. So yeah, Felix as well. So Nkunku for me is together with Kwanzaa two of the players that should be sold ahead of the game, the deadline. Is Nedeljkovic a good replacement for Kwanzaa? For the next couple of game weeks, I definitely think that he will get more points, but I'm not really sure that he is a decent option going forward. We're not sure if he will start like the next 10 game weeks. So I'm a little bit afraid that replacing Kwanzaa with Nedeljkovic is just bringing another problem in. That's a transfer waiting to happen. I would probably just if you need him to start and you have like saved up a couple of free transfers already, and if you're planning to play your wild card in game week 6, then yes, he is a good replacement. But if you want to have him long term, then I would probably go someone more safe, like the Leicester centre backs or Harvard Bellis at Southampton. If he will sit on your bench most weeks, I would just get a 4.0 defender. But if you need him to play in your starting 11, then I will probably wait and do a double transfer and upgrade him to another decent defender. No, Konsa is 4.3 now, but if you can find 0.2 and upgrade Kwanzaa to, let's say, Ding from Aston Villa, I think that will be a really good move. He can start most weeks going forward. They have great fixtures, and Alex Moreno left Aston Villa and joined Nottingham Forest, so I think that Ding will start most weeks, and he's on some set pieces as well. So if you have to start the Kwanzaa replacement most weeks, try to find the funds to upgrade him. So, Webster, to summarize both of your questions, yes, Kwanzaa is a sell. Konate will probably continue starting alongside Van Dijk. And if you have to start your Kwanzaa replacement, just try to save up and do a double transfer and upgrade Kwanzaa to a better defender. If you are going to start have that player on your bench most weeks, then you can just downgrade him to one of the starting 4.0 options. Watkins or Son to bring in or to captain. Watkins or Son to bring in. I would pick Watkins this week. I don't think it's the right time to bring in Son right now, but Watkins, he has decent fixtures, so if you are going to hold him long term, then Watkins is probably the way to go. But at the same time, this game week, I'm actually considering captaining Son because Newcastle are kind of overrated when it comes to their defensive ability, and they have their regular centre backs out with suspension and injury. But I would not captain Watkins, so it's kind of strange answer. Bring in Watkins, but personally, I will captain Son. So Watkins in game week 1 and game week 2, he actually has looked quite poor, but we know his ability, and those fixtures will probably turn his form around. So he will probably be a good asset going forward. I'm actually planning to downgrade one of Bruno or Son to Rodgers from Aston Villa and upgrading Calvert Lewin to Watkins. But I want to see a bit more from Watkins before I make that move. And I'm giving Calvert Lewin a last chance against Bournemouth in game week 3. Do I start Rico Lewis or Anderson? Rico Lewis, I guess he has done really well in the first couple of game weeks. So now that we know that he will probably start, he has a good chance of starting. We know how good a player he is. I will probably start him if I have him. Captain Salah or Saka. If I had if I had Saka this game week, I would definitely captain him. So it's like Salah, he's playing against Man United at Old Trafford, so we know that this is a game that's really hard to predict. Sometimes United actually turns up against the big teams, so I will go Saka this game week. Yeah, I like Semenyo. He has done really well in the first couple of game weeks, one of the players with the best attacking stats. So I think that he is a decent option going forward. For me, Semenyo, yes, decent. I would pick him ahead of Smith Rowe, also ahead of Madueke, even though he did really well in game week 2 against Wolves. Chelsea, they have so many good options in those positions right now, especially after bringing in Neto, and they have Felix, and they also brought in Jadon Sancho on loan last night, so he'll probably get some minutes as well. And we know that Cole Palmer can play outright, so Semenyo looks like one of the best options in that price category in midfield right now. Who do I bench? SA, Muniz, Gordon, Smith Rowe, or Rogers? Well, that's a benching headache. Let's see. I would definitely start SA. We know that he will start and it's on penalties. Chelsea, yes, they played really well in game week 2, but they also conceded 2 goals against Wolves. So I would start SA, Gordon as well. As mentioned, I think there will be goals in that game, Newcastle and Spurs game. Muniz, one of the players with the best attacking stats, most shots on goal in the first 2 game weeks. Smith Rowe as well, he scored last game week. And Rogers, good fixture. It's between Smith Rowe and Rogers for me. At least, at least I can help with narrowing it down to a 50-50 decision. Smith Rowe and Rogers. Seeing you have already Muniz in your team, then I will probably bench Smith Rowe, I guess. But what I like to do in those kind of this 50-50 dilemmas is often to go with the pricing. It really feels bad to bench the most expensive player if you holds and you have a cheaper player on in your starting 11 that blanks. So yeah, it's a 50-50 decision between Smith Rowe and Rogers. And since you have Muniz, I will probably bench Smith Rowe in your case. Is Ait Nouri an option after the fixtures get better? Potentially, we know that he is a really good player, but can we trust the Wolves defense? If you go by the game in game week 2, um, the answer is no. But of course, it was a game against Chelsea, and I think that after game week 9, when the Wolves fixtures gets a lot better, then Ait Nouri probably is a decent option. It probably might be a decent shout as well because after game week 9 they have good fixtures all the way until game week 17. So 8 good fixtures in a row for Wolves, and if they show some good signs in the next couple of game weeks, then yeah, I think we could be decent. Would you rather have Trent and Semenyo or Robertson and Mbuemo? So all 4 of them are good options. I spoke earlier about Trent and Robbo, and after seeing Liverpool's 2 first games, I would definitely pick Robbo at that price. Trent, he is going into midfield, and Robbo, he is bumping down that left-hand side, so he's getting more into the box as well and more penalty area touches. So for me, Robbo and Mbuemo definitely, especially after Tony um, not starting for Brentford, and Mbuemo will probably be their main penalty taker going forward. So yeah, Robbo and Mbuemo, even though Trent and Semenyo are decent as well. And that itinerary question, I believe I answered it. I don't see him as a good option right now, but from game week 9, if he is still fit and if Wolves show a little bit more defensive awareness in the next couple of game weeks, then I think he will be a decent option from game week 9. So if you're not seeing it, transfer window closed last night, and these are the most important transfers when it comes to FPL, especially Ward-Prowse to Forest if you are considering bringing in the. If you are considering bringing in Morgan Gibbs White from Forest, I would advise you to wait because Ward-Prowse joined last night and he will probably overtake him when it comes to set pieces, and Morgan Gibbs White will lose some of his appeal. 2 hours ago until the deadline. It's time to make the final plans. As mentioned earlier, when it comes to early team news in the Arsenal Brighton game, I'm not sure we will get any, and the most of the big accounts are not sharing early team news as well because at the end of last season, one of the biggest accounts like FPL Tony started to have false information. So I think that FPL moving the deadline to 1.5 hour before kickoff, and yeah, I think that the time of early team news is dead. Let's have a quick look. People starting to lock in their teams. The first three teams I've seen on Twitter, all of them captaining Holland, and that's the fourth. So if you have Holland, definitely he is the safe captain option this week as well, playing against West Ham. But I use my two free transfers on Nkunku and Garnacho and transfer in who I already have Rogers, Esse, and Saka. Uh, for me, Nkunku, he is a definite sell right now. He will probably not start regularly as we've seen in the season opening. He has so much competition for his spot, so Nkunku, he is a sell. Right now, I would go for Mbuemo. We know that he will start for Brentford and he will be on penalties. So in your situation, I would just use one of the free transfers and do Nkunku to Embuemo if you can afford it. Embuemo, he is 7, and Nkunku is he 6.4 now? His price has dropped. So if you have the funds, just sell Nkunku and bring in Embuemo. If you can't afford Embuemo, I would take a look at Semenyo. He is 5.5 and one of the players with the best attacking stats in the first couple of game weeks. When are you planning to wildcard? Right now, the rough plan is to wildcard in game week 6, but only if my team needs it. So if the players I have in my team right now performs in game week 4 and 5, then I will not use it just for the sake of it. So if I still have problems and if Bruno keeps on blanking and if I even sold Calvert Lewin already, then I will definitely use it in game week 6, but only if my team needs it. Is Gibbs White a good option instead of Mbemo? Gibbs White, he is probably still decent, but I believe that he lost some of his appeal last night when we got the news that James Ward-Prowse are joining Forest. One of the reasons for going with Gibbs White is that he is on most set pieces, but I believe that Ward-Prowse will overtake him when it comes to free kicks, maybe even penalties. So Gibbs White, yes, he is still a good option, but I would wait and see a couple of game weeks before bringing him in. I'm not saying that I would sell him if I had him, but I would wait if I were planning to bring him in. Morning, Jake. I have Salah, Saka, Palmer, Raya, and Haaland in my team. Do I need to make any changes at all? Well, definitely none of those players needs to be changed. Who will be your captain? Do I need to make any changes? It's not. It's like if you have a decent team and you know that your players will probably start, then it's always wise to save transfers for when you really need to make changes. Mm, And this season, we know that we can save up to 5 free transfers, and I believe that will be really powerful. It's like you can have almost an extra wildcard if you manage to save up to 5 free transfers. So for a -4 as well, you have 6 transfers, and that's close to a new wildcard. The players that I would definitely sell if I had them is Nkunku and Kwanzaa. Other than that, you will probably be fine. Hello, mate. Hello. Question. I'm going no Haaland. Do I captain Salah, Saka, or Palmer this game week? Yeah, as you can see, I'm no Haaland as well. Didn't really work out last game week, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks we will get our points back from from our other players. This game week I would go for Saka or Palmer. Salah is playing at the Old Trafford against Man United, and we know that there can be a lot of goals in those games, but we know that also Man United at home can put in a really good performance against the big teams. So for me, it's a bit of a risk going with Salah this game week. So Saka or Palmer would be my preferred captains. And probably I would go with Saka this game week if I had him in. One of my planned transfers was actually to sell both Bruno and Jota and bring in Palmer and Rodgers from Aston Villa. And if I did that, I would captain Cole Palmer. But as mentioned, Saka would be my preferred option this game week. Yeah, I'm a United fan as well, so um, It's not like I can captain. It's not like I can't captain a player playing against Man United, but I actually believe that they can do really well against Liverpool on Sunday. So yeah, when it comes to FPL points, I think it's a bit of a risk captaining Salah this game week. No, no worries, mate. Yeah, that's my point. Uh, Potentially there can be a Salah hat trick, and potentially United can play really well and win that game. So it's really hard to predict those big games when rivals playing against each other. So yeah, Salah can be a really good shout, but on the other hand, he can be an awful option. So if you have Saka and Polymer, I would definitely go for one of them. And yeah, Saka is my preferred option. Have a good week as well. Thanks for your questions. Hopefully you'll subscribe to the channel and join the next live session. Thoughts on Jackson? Yeah, did well last game week. Of course, he's actually a decent striker, getting into good positions. But as we saw last season, he is really not that lethal. He misses most of his chances. Actually, he had a really high XG last season, but didn't really score that many goals. Even though he ended on um, was it like 15 in or was it 20 in all competitions? So he did actually perform when it comes to goal scoring, but I'm not sure that he will start most games this season. We know that Chelsea have so many options in attack right now. They brought in Neto, and they also have Joao Felix coming in. So Nkunku is still there. So for me right now, the only attacker from Chelsea I would consider is actually Cole Palmer. I know it's expensive, but he is on penalties, and we know that he will play most minutes. It's kind of the same with both Chelsea and Liverpool right now. But if we get some injuries on some of their attackers, then probably the ones that are fit will become decent options. So actually, even though Jota has done well for me in the first couple of game weeks, I considered selling him midweek, doing both Jota and Bruno to Cole Palmer and Rogers from Aston Villa. We know that at some point Darwin Núñez will start games. Same goes for Gakpo, and Jota will probably start a couple of games on the bench. And I see the same in that Chelsea attack. And now they also brought in Jadon Sancho yesterday from Man United. So yeah, it's risky going with both Liverpool and Chelsea attackers. So to summarize, Jackson, I wouldn't advise you to sell him if you have him, but if you're planning to bring him in, I would probably look elsewhere. If you can afford him, Havertz, he is probably a better option right now. And if you want to downgrade him, then a player like Wissa is probably decent now with Tony out. Who to bench out of Muniz, Smith Rowe, Rogers, or Gordon? Muniz, one of the players with the best attacking stats in the first couple of game weeks, so I would start Muniz. Rogers, decent fixture. Gordon, kind of tough fixture, but I can see goals in the games against Spurs. So at the moment, I would bench Smith Rowe out of those four. No, he scored last game week and got 10 points, but um, it may as well be uh, Muniz turn this game week, and I actually think that Muniz has a better chance of scoring than Smith Rowe. With I mentioned Gordon, Esse, or Joao Pedro. So first of all, Esse, I would start him this game week. We know that he will start. We know that he's on penalties. Joao Pedro as well on penalties, but it's a really tough fixture. So I just said that I can see goals in the Newcastle Spurs game. So out of those, I would probably bench Joao Pedro. Arsenal, they actually have according to the bookies, they have the best chance of a clean sheet in game week 3 as well. So starting Gordon and Esse and benching Joao Pedro is probably the best decision. Let's see. Hmm. So these are the bookies' predictions ahead of game week 3, and as mentioned, Arsenal 48%. So yeah, Joe Pedro would be on my bench. So, Jimmy T, if you didn't get the answer, I would bench Smith Rowe out of Muniz, Smith Rowe, Rogers, and Gordon. And when it comes to Gordon, Esse, and Joao Pedro, I would bench Joao Pedro, mainly because the Arsenal defense are so good at the moment. So right now it's only 1.5 hour to go until the deadline. Let's see. What do you think about Hudson-Odoi, Bruno, and Isaac out for KDB, Jackson, and Rogers for a -4 hit? Um, Bruno definitely want to consider selling. I've done it myself, but ultimately I decided to give him a couple of more game weeks. We know that he will start and is on penalties. When it comes to Hudson-Odoi, he's probably one that should be sold as well. But when it comes to Isaac, I'm not sure that selling him for a hit is the best move. That can really be painful because we know that he can um, hit form at any time. So I'm not sure I would do those three moves for a hit. Maybe just Hudson-Odoi out for Rodgers and save a transfer. I'm not sure that Jackson is the best option either. He will see some rotation in the Chelsea side. They have so many attacking options right now, and after Felix coming in as well. So it's a no for me, but Hudson-Odoi out, Rodgers in, yes. No worries. I just believe that we need to have a little bit more patience when it comes to Isaac. We got him in for a reason, and he's nailed on and on penalties. He's been kind of unlucky in the first couple of game weeks, especially game week 1 when they got sent off in the first half. So it turned out to be a defending game for Newcastle in the opening against Southampton. So I think that Isaac will turn out to be a good option, and that we should have a little bit more patience with him. The same actually goes for Bruno. He actually has the second highest expected goal in the first couple of game weeks, especially game week 1. He played really well. Kind of surprising seeing him getting subbed off in game week 2, but hopefully he will start delivering. He has a tough game in game week 3 against Liverpool, but we know that United sometimes really does well in those big games. So hopefully Bruno can get something against Liverpool on Sunday. Who to bench? Isaac, Gordon, Muniz, Rogers, or Smith Rowe. So, first of all, one that I would definitely start out of those is Isaac. Gordon as well. I can see games in that Newcastle Spurs match, and Muniz, decent stats from the first two game weeks, so I would start him as well. So Smith Rowe would be the one I would have on my bench. Good morning from France. Good morning. Got no free transfers. Should I take a -4 for Fernandes to Palmer and Solanke to Pedro? I was really considering something similar myself, selling Jota and Bruno to Rogers and Palmer. I'm not sure I would do it for a hit, especially seeing you are planning to bring in Joao Pedro. He has a really tough fixture this game week playing against Arsenal. So I'm not sure that I would do it for a hit this game week. Calvert-Lewin, you're not the first one to mention Calvert-Lewin. He was my game week 1 punt, and if he fails against Bournemouth at home, he will probably be sold ahead of the game week 4 deadline. Is Son to Palmer okay? If you really want Palmer and think that he will do well against Crystal Palace, then if you have the money in the bank for a straight swap, then probably Son to Palmer can work out. For me personally, I think Son will do well against Newcastle. They have both of their regular centre backs out. Shad is suspended, and I think that Newcastle Spurs will have a lot of goals. So personally, I would keep Son, but if you really think that Palmer will do well, yeah. Palmer is almost guaranteed to return over Fernandes. I think the -4 is worth it, yeah. As mentioned, I would love to upgrade Bruno and have Palmer, but I would need to do a downgrade as well as, yeah, you mentioned you have to downgrade and bring in Joao Pedro. So also a -4 is only really a -2 for guaranteed starters. Yeah, over time you can say that if the player you are selling is not starting and they don't have decent bench cover, then you can probably say that a -4 is a -2. This Lanky injury is a strange one because we just got the confirmation that he was out last Friday before the game week 2 deadline, and we didn't get any time frame on it. No real updates before game week 3 either. So yeah, it doesn't look like Solanke will start this game week, but he looked really good in game week 1 when he started. So he will probably be a good option when he's fit again. So to summarize, if you are sure that Palmer will score this game week, then it's probably worth a minus 4. I'm just not sure that Joao Pedro is a decent option for game week 3, but he will probably do well going forward. So yeah, a -4 is probably worth it. Bench Hall or Masraoui. Ooh, I can't see any of them really doing well this game week. Hall, tough fixture against Spurs, and Masraoui against Liverpool. At least we know that Masraoui, he will probably start. He has actually done well in the first couple of game weeks. Hall benched last game week. 50-50 decision for me, but I don't really expect any of them to do well. So I would bench Hall in game week 3, but not expecting much from either. Yeah, Hall is probably the one that should be on your bench. So in addition, Newcastle is actually the team who has conceded most shots in the first couple of game weeks. So yeah, definitely Hall on the bench, play Masraoui, even though he will probably blank as well. So Newcastle in the last 2 game weeks they conceded 35 shots, which is worst in the league, and they have an expected goals conceded of 4.03, which is only beaten by Ipswich. So we have to remember that they played in game week 1 with only 10 men, but these are not impressive defensive stats for sure. Isaac and Rogers or Gordon and Visa. Right now, with the Aston Villa fixtures, I would definitely have Isaac and Rogers over Gordon and Visa. Isaac, he is on penalties. Rogers, he actually have really good stats from game week 1 and game week 2, and he looks to be nailed on in that side. Gordon is decent, scored last game week, and Visa is a good option as well. Now that Tony is not playing, but Brentford have tough fixtures in the next couple of game weeks, game week 4 and game week 5. So Brentford options is probably decent in game week 6. My plan is to bring in Mbuemo from Brentford, but waiting until game week 6. And as mentioned earlier, Isaac, I think it's too early to lose all patience with him. I think that he will do well going forward. Hello. Let's have the or attacks have you after that. Yeah, I need to do that as well. To help 50-50 decisions, I can show you this. It's the bookie's prediction for anytime goal scorer and clean sheet odds. And yeah, as ex- as expected, Holland is on 54, Palmer and Salah both on 45, Isaac 44, and Saka 42. So they are most likely to score. And when it comes to clean sheets, Arsenal actually quite high when we compare them to Man City. I need to load my team to X as well. Forgot about that. I might use 2 free transfers already and probably wildcard soon. It's probably better to just do it now and keep banking. Yeah, that's definitely an option. The new rules this season is that if you use your wildcard, you will get your transfers back. So if you have other fires to put out as well, then playing the wildcard now is probably decent. Which player are you planning to sell, and who are you planning to bring in? Know that a lot of players are playing their wildcard this game week as well. So if you have other players that you want to sell, then just playing it this week will probably be a good option. If you're planning to play the wildcard, you should make the decision pretty soon because seeing there's only one hour until the deadline. Let's see. Kwanzaa, Hall, Henderson, Minte, Isaac, Saka, Solanke. Out. Lewis, Greaves, Martinez, Embuemo, Palmer, Watkins, Joao Pedro. In. Yes, I think those moves, it's some of them, of course, some of the players you are selling are good options. I'm not sure that Isaac and Saka, especially, are players I would sell, but seeing you get Palmer and Watkins in, it will probably pay off. And in addition, you'll get your free transfers back. So, yeah, Kwanzaa, he is definitely one that should go. And if you already spent two free transfers, then yeah, I'd say go for it. Bench one of Gabriel Paro, Munoz, and Davis. Yeah, first of all, I would definitely start Gabriel, probably Poro as well. He is so attacking and on some set pieces for Spurs, and I can see goals in that game, Newcastle against Spurs. Not sure that he will get a clean sheet, but like last game week, he will probably or hopefully get an attacking return. Crystal Palace defense, not really convincing, but yeah, for me, it's a 50-50 decision between Munoz and Davis. So at least at least I was able to help you by narrowing down to a 50-50 decision. And I would probably start Munoz because of his price tag. It's really irritating if you want to play the cheapest player and have the most expensive player with points on your bench. So yeah, we'll probably just bench Davis. He has some attacking appeal as well, but Ipswich are the team with the highest expected goal in the last couple of game weeks, so clean sheets are not likely. So he should probably be on the bench. Yeah, it's true. They have a really tough couple of fixtures in the first two game weeks. So that was through why you don't have Holland. Yeah, so It was actually I had two drafts before game week one with Salah and Bruno and Son, and one with Haaland, but then I couldn't afford Salah. So ultimately, it was a choice between having Haaland and a weaker midfield or having three potentially really good players in midfield in Son, Bruno, and Salah, all nailed on, all on penalties. So my hope was that, and still is, that they can outscore Haaland. It was always a risk, of course, and my hope was that Haaland would be limited to one, maybe two returns in that Ipswich game. And it kind of went down to plan, but that last goal was kind of, yeah. Haaland, he got, I can't really remember, it was like 1.47, 48 expected goal in that game and got a hat trick. So, yeah, it kind of went down to plan, but him getting a hat trick and full bonus was really bad for my rank. But hopefully, my players in midfield can start delivering. Bruno, he's been really unlucky. He has had around the same expected goal as Haaland, but his shots haven't really went in like Haaland's. So the reasoning was that the 2.5 saved by going Salah over Haaland and upgrading elsewhere would be more value. Of course, it doesn't look that good. Like after game week two, seeing all the monster scores and people getting 100 points by using their triple captain, but it's like it's still potential for nailing down the triple captain a, on a different occasion. So yeah. So at the moment for me, it's like if Haaland does well in the next couple of game weeks, I will bring him in for game week 7. And my rough plan is also, if I need it, I will play my wild card in game week 6. And if I do that and Haaland has done well in the next couple of game weeks, then I will probably just bring Haaland in my team for game week 6. Yeah, definitely a lot of good enablers in midfield. Smith Rowe, Rogers, Mitoma, Semenyo, all good options. As mentioned earlier, my plan was actually to downgrade Jota to Rogers and upgrade Bruno to Cole Palmer. Play Joao Pedro or take a hit for Solanke out and play the replacement. Depends on the replacement, I guess. I can't really see Joao Pedro doing well this game week. Arsenal, they have the highest clean sheet odds in game week 3, playing at home against Brighton. So, of Of course, he can get something, but I don't like his chances. Yeah, the Haaland Salah draft is in in the first couple of game weeks. This ultimately has been the best drafts. I think it's too early to judge though. If yeah, as we're only 2 game weeks in, but if you had both Haaland and Salah in game from the start, then you probably have a decent rank as well.
Vi ska dra någon kvartersskifte.